Hello friends, how you doing? I'm back with another Muhammad Hassan video, and this time we're gonna talk about was it necessary for to move Muhammad Hassan to a SmackDown and doing that terrorist angle very early on SmackDown? Was it necessary, or just they just got lazy with the character and they just tried to go south with that character? So let's talk about that. First of all, I've been said in my previous videos that moving Muhammad Hassan to SmackDown was not a good idea at all. If I was the one who was running W, I would have never ever moved Muhammad Hassan to SmackDown until SmackDown was live. I would have put him let him stay on Raw forever, because Raw is live and SmackDown is taped. So there's a lot of big difference between Raw live and SmackDown tape. So the character is very controversial, and it was already had so many controversy before that angle. So they it wasn't the best decision that they did, because what was the point of moving him to SmackDown and giving him the push? Why don't they just give him the push, the world title push on Raw with John Cena, and making the world WWE champion, instead of moving to SmackDown? Because he wasn't even there for a year on Raw. Why you have to move him to SmackDown? I mean, I saw some guys, they stay on Raw or SmackDown for 2 years, 3 years, or stay there forever, and they never get drafted to Raw or SmackDown. So why he was over there on Raw only for 6 7 months, and I would have been okay if they had said like, oh, okay, he's been on Raw for 1 or 2 years, let's move him back to SmackDown. But he was just debut in December, and you just moved him to SmackDown in June, and that was never a good idea. I mean, you guys may be saying, I'm saying because that terrorist angle happened and all that, that's why I'm saying it doesn't go well down on the line. But still, it's a common sense. The character was controversial, and the character is very popular, so it needs to be stay on Raw forever, because Raw is the live. Raw is live, and Raw in he fits Raw than SmackDown, even though they were going to push him on SmackDown. But I don't, it doesn't make any sense moving him to SmackDown from Raw. I don't get it. So it's not that Muhammad Hassan downfall started from that terrorist angle and terrorist bombing in London. The move they made, when they decided to move into SmackDown, that's when everything went down for the character and Muhammad Hassan. They should have just kept him on Raw. I said in my other videos too. And Cena, there is so many guys came from SmackDown, like John Cena or Big Show, or any other guys, or even Kane. He was on Raw. He never wrestled a Kane with rest. He had never wrestled Kane. So why? What was the point of him moving to SmackDown? I mean, he could have wrestled with Kane and John Cena, and a lot of guys were there, and he could have been get a huge push on Raw and become the WWE champion at some time. So it was the worst decision by WWE, but that's not the end of it. So okay, he's let's go to SmackDown. He got drafted, unfortunately, because even I heard his interviews that Muhammad Hassan Markopani, he was against moving to SmackDown. He was not happy that they were moving him to SmackDown. He liked Raw. He had friends over there, and he knew everybody over there in the locker room, and he was happy to be on Raw. But they root him up from and put him on SmackDown, and why and then in just third week of his SmackDown arrival, I mean his SmackDown debut was good. He got the victory over Big Show. Then next week, he opened the SmackDown with a great promo, and in the Undertaker, I like the feud. I have nothing against that the feud was not good. I like Muhammad Hassan versus Undertaker. That's a good feud, but it was very early on. I if I was I would have booked him like booked him a little bit like they pushed him too much right away when he got drafted to SmackDown. I would have had him match with another like with with other wrestler on like mid card wrestler first for like 1 to 3 months, and then when the time comes when he gets settled in there, and then I go give him a huge push in SmackDown, you know. So they did it very early on. They gave him a big push right away. They put him in the feud with the Undertaker, and then they did the worst thing that you can even imagine. It's like a one in a million times in years you're gonna do that dumb mistake that they did. I mean, what was the need of doing? It was not. It was completely unnecessary to do that terrorist angle. I mean, and they did it on the worst day. They did it on 4th July, which is a USA Independence Day, and even though they say London bombings happened, yeah, but still it wasn't a good idea to do that angle on 4th of July because it was a national holiday and you're doing that terrorist angle. You're playing with the fire, you know. So it I don't know it was gonna backfire or not, but it did backfire after London bombing. I mean, London bombings really killed it for everyone. You know, London bombings is like a worst thing that could happen to Muhammad Hassan, and I mean, they should not have did it. I mean, if they really wanted to bring someone to help Muhammad Hassan making look stronger, I mean, they could have called one guy from OVW, like anyone, like a good, like a strong guy. If like he could have had a mask too. I mean, five guys, you calling a five guys from randomly and just beating the hell out of on the Undertaker. That was not good. I mean, I know the feud was. I mean, they wanted to make Undertaker look strong, and they wanted to make Muhammad Hassan look strong in front of him too. So that's why they call these five masked men. But if I was that, I would have called. If I really wanted to make Muhammad Hassan look good in front of Muhammad and the Undertaker, I would have called one guy, big guy from OVW. It would have been anyone in OVW that would have came and maybe as a bodyguard, you know. It's like not they are like sympathizer or anything. I would have called them. He's a bodyguard of Muhammad Hassan. He's gonna protect Hassan from the Undertaker. I mean, calling one guy from OVW and he's like saving Muhammad Hassan and he's like a bodyguard, like adding one more guy to their and to their stable, like Muhammad Hassan and his manager Diwari, and one guy that is anyone who can come from OVW is a bodyguard of them because they are facing a lot of backlash. They are facing a lot of heat from the fans, and they want a bodyguard to just to protect them from the Undertaker and the fans, you know. So that would have been better, but this was very early on what they did. So it's very dumb, and I cannot believe that they just went so lazy about this. I mean, uh, I cannot even imagine what they did, and they never took it out. I mean, if they were wise, I mean, they could have did something to added that segment, cut the cancel the show or do something about it. I mean, I don't know why they just decided, oh, they're gonna put a disclaimer and it's gonna be fine. I don't know why. Maybe they didn't knew, but it wasn't the it was not a good decision by UPN and WW, and then it backfired, and that's all. That's the end of it is, you know. So my point is, if Muhammad Hassan had stay on Raw, this would have had not happened, you know. He would have stayed on Raw, and he would have had a feud with other guys on Raw. He would have never ever feuded with the Undertaker at that time. He would have stayed on Raw. He would have wrestled with other wrestler at that time. So, and it would have never happened. But they made the dumb move, moving him to SmackDown, which doesn't make any sense because it's not live. And until it was not live, never put a character like Muhammad Hassan on SmackDown. And then very early on, and they just randomly gave him a big push and put him in with the Undertaker right away, and then again randomly they just call those mask man, and then that's the end of the story for Muhammad Hassan. So what am I trying to say? It was very unnecessary, and it was very dumb move to move him to SmackDown, and then doing that terrorist angle is like putting a salt uh, on yourself, So even though we are saying this because everything went down because of that, but we would have been not saying it if the London bombing had not happened, and that terrorist angle would have got away with it, and we would have been saying these kind of things. But still, it happened, so they should have had more common sense about it, and they should have held more responsibility about the character, and they should have just let him stay with on Raw because Mark Kapani, Muhammad Hassan, he was also wanted to stay on Raw. He wasn't wanna go on SmackDown at all. He was happy. Even though he had some problems in the back with locker rooms, but that was early on in his career. But he got settled. He had friends on SmackDown, on Raw. I'm sorry, like Val Venus, Chris Jericho, Daivari, of course. Chris Benoit, he had Triple H. He mentioned this in his interview that he had friends and they always helped him on Raw. And when he moved to SmackDown, he said that SmackDown locker was totally different. They had The Undertaker, JBL, Hardcore Holly, and all those Eddie Guerrero and all those veterans that they gave him hard time when he came up over there. And so everything, if you take everything together and think about all these things, and it wasn't that good decision to go with it. So what can we do? And that's all it happens. But I was just thinking about making about that this video on this topic. So I just trying to explain that how this would not have been should not have been done by the WWE, and this would not have happened. Muhammad Khan could have stayed for longer or even stay there and become a champion on all that, and it just went down the drain like that. Just in one night, he was meant to be a champion. Then next week, he was not even allowed to be on SmackDown, and his character was done on July 24th, and at the Great American Bash. So that's it. So I'm gonna make another video next week. I'm gonna make another video about Mamasan topic, and this time I'm gonna make a video about who else could have played the Mamdasan character beside Mark Kapani. So we're just gonna discuss about who else could have played the Mamdasan character at that time. I'm talking about at that time, not now. I mean, you guys can tell me. I mean, there was a lot of young and good talent in OVW that could have played the Mamdasan character, but you need to have a guy who looks Arab, who looks like Arab American. So I think Mark Kapani really looked Arab, so that's why they choose him to play that character, and he had the great talent to play that character too. That's a plus point too. And but we're just gonna exploit that who. I mean, I know from 2004, 2005, 2006. There's a lot of guys came from there, and we're gonna just talk about who else could have been a best option. It could have been Diwari or by himself or someone else. We will talk about that in upcoming days, and it's gonna be very interesting video too. So until then, I will say goodbye, take care, and see you in the next video.